The ledger, hidden figures, 5 lenses, 1 contract, 1 man who's taking the fight to the shadow system. The new culture empire. Want your hidden figures disclosed? Want your lender to explain charges they want to keep a secret? Want to strengthen your consumer claims? Why wait? Don't think you can do everything by yourself. Get your numbers uncovered today. Every day you wait is another argument you waive. Tried, tested, and strong enough to withstand the opposing party's denials. Get your numbers uncovered today.
You're rocking with the best.
In the assets, how you turn a loss in the last check. Thomas took notes, broke codes, then he proved it. Now the classroom global and the language fluid. Thomas is the blueprint. Write that in the sky, let the crew print. From the courtroom smoke to the Newman. He designed the way we move our 2 cents. Thomas is the blueprint. Supreme Elite team, that's the school stamp. From the first lay bill to the full camp. New culture empire, watch the flag plan. Supreme Elite Team University. Turn the credit score into currency. Turn the closed door to a first key. Turn the side job to a legacy.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
You're rocking with the best. You're rocking with the best.
We are back in the building today. Now, it's getting scary in these spaces, man. And it's getting scary for court. It is getting very scary for court. I believe that first of all, if you haven't got the hidden ledger, get your numbers ran. So, in a matter regarding Loan Depot, they actually called a client asking, kind of fishing and asking, hey, we just want to make sure, is there any other claims, any other things that you had that you wanted us to address besides the notice of error and the consumer stuff? Is there any? So they called them. Actually, they've been trying to call for the past couple days, and her husband just alerted her that, they've been calling. So I told her, I said, yo, tell him, don't ignore if they try to call. Don't ignore. Talk to them. Pick up the phone and talk to them. Don't ignore. Listen, we filed the notice of error and RESPA. We didn't file ours like the normal social media where you bury them in 55,000 requests, and then since when they don't respond to all overly burdensome requests, you want to go file a FDCPA or file a lawsuit against them. Hey, $1,000 because they ain't responded to this. $1,000 they didn't furnish this. Nah. The courts have stopped that practice. Number one, if you are filing a FDCPA, RESPA claim, whatever you want to call it, and you can't prove real world injury and real world harm, just because you cite the statutory violations, if you've been paying attention, I told you, courts change the laws without ever having to touch the letter to the statute. Courts don't have to change a word they don't have to change a word of the statute in order for them to move it. So today, if you are not providing real world concrete injury, your claims and your lawsuits against them are going to be thrown out. This is why for every 15, 20 cases they take online, they may pop up with like one or two. Hey, we got a settlement. And in those cases, those are actual real world harm. Like they can actually prove it. Majority of the cases, they're manufacturing lawsuits. You can't manufacture a lawsuit. If there is not, let me give you an example of what I mean. You put them on a do not call list, and they call you 2 times afterwards. The mere fact that they called you twice afterwards and never again doesn't mean they actually caused you injury. Now, if you say, don't call me, take me off the do not call list, and they're calling at 7 o'clock in the morning, they're calling at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they're calling at 3 o'clock, they're calling at 4 o'clock, they're calling at 5 o'clock. You say, hey, I told y'all to stop calling. Okay, we would take you up. We'll take, because no disrespect, but who be answering the calls. We'll take you. Okay, yes, Mr. Thomas, we will not call you anymore. Okay, we'll take you off. 2 hours later, calling from a different number. This number, this number, this number, this number. That is now harassment. That is a viable lawsuit, right? Or if you hit them with your request from the servicer, securitization information, the original note, this, all the stuff that you hear online. If you hit them with all that, it's 50 or 60 requests, and they don't respond within 30, 37 days, that doesn't mean they violated the statute, because you put them in a position to violate because your requests were unburdensome and your request did not amount to a statutory request, like a QWR, like a RESPA, like a notice, like a notice of error. See, in this case here, we didn't have to wait for them to, did they get it? Are they going to respond? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? They didn't have to wait. Want to know why they didn't have to wait? Because when I'm involved, some way, shape, form, or fashion, happened last year with an attorney, they always find a way to pick up the phone and call. Like, yo, we receive, letting you know you ain't got to worry about the ambiguity. No caps. Got you later on this evening. Don't even trip. Got you later on. They're going to call and give you notice. They're going to give you notice. So Loan Depot called. They called them today, and she wanted to know, hey, is there any other things that you wanted to raise Besides this, is there any other things? Because we're actively investigating it. Actively investigating it. Now, actively investigating it, that's normal what they're supposed to do. I'm not making no rants about it. It's procedure. I'm not going to overstretch it more than what it is. But you didn't have to call them 3 or 4 times to let them know you was investigating. You could have just sent your investigations. Now, remember, this is an active lawsuit going on at the same time. So now they got to be very careful on how they respond. True Seeker, what's up? Shout out to TikTok. Shout out to TikTok. And we on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook at the same time. Also, the ledger, the newsletters, and the podcast, my podcast segments, they are now available on Patreon. If you're not part of the Patreon community, join the Patreon community. The Patreon community is growing. Shout out to everybody that has become a member of the Patreon.
You're rocking with the best.
Shout out to everyone who's gotten their ledger, their audit report. Now, if you reach out for the assistance and helping you with your mortgage or auto, the actual report, you don't have to, that comes with it. So you don't get it. But shout out to those who's taken advantage. Most recently, No Caps on TikTok. He actually got one. So I hope that opened your eyes and clarified a lot of things for you, brother. I hope you saw what I've been trying to tell people online. I hope you saw it within yourself. And so since I am actively promoting my newsletters, I'm actively promoting my ledgers, we have another one for you today. Now, I have a case that one is in Georgia, a non-judicial state. But the funny thing about it, the non-judicial state, they actually filing a lawsuit to foreclose, which I told the person, no, that's good. They didn't just, they filed an actual lawsuit, like trial. So I've sent her two sets of motions today, pre-trial motions. She has to get with the attorney for a consolidated pre-trial order. Both attorneys, they got to meet, whatever. So I helped her with presenting her side to the other side. Trust me, I've been through trial before. I know what those deadlines are. I know what those deadlines mean. Trust me, I know what they mean. I know what they are. Now, let me see. Okay, move me to the side. So we filed 2 motions in limine before trial, and God damn it, the ink ain't even set on those motions. The ink ain't even set before they now filed a motion to have a bench trial. Oh, now you want a bench trial? Why you want a bench trial? Why do you want a bench trial all of a sudden? Now you want a bench trial. You was all good with a jury trial before I started attacking those numbers. The ledger. Now you want a bench trial. You don't want a jury trial. You want a bench trial. Because maybe you didn't want the jury to hear about the hidden figures, those hidden numbers. You didn't want the jury to hear that now, because a person may have a mortgage and be like, hold on. If he pointed that out, what if that's happening to me? So it gets from a trier of fact to, hey, I want to hear how this is being explained. I want to see how this, hold on. I want this person talking long enough. I might be taking some notes for myself. I want to hear this. Shit. But another case is out of Florida. 2 totally different cases. two totally different states, and the underlying elements of the Supreme Elite Team University and the ledger is prevalent as God. And you can't even make up the similarities. And we're about to get into it. So, Supreme Elite Team University, Litigation Department, Volume 4. The arithmetic issue. And the full, unedited, fully consolidated version will be available on the Patreon. Volume 4. 3 filings, 2 states, 1 method. 3 filings, 3 different filings across 2 different states, same method. Because when your claims are rooted in real substance, the underlying elements never change. The underlying arguments don't change. The only thing that changes is the person who you're making the argument against. The foundation never changes. If you got to keep learning a new foundation with these teachers, you got to keep learning a new foundation, new foundation, new foundation, new foundation, new foundation. Now, Chardonnay, W's in a shot. What it looks like when every number in the record comes from the other side. And what happens when the servicer calls back. In this issue, and this is a good one. In this issue, Part 1, the file. 3 documents filed in the same week. A motion in limine on statutory attorney fee calculation. Y'all, I'm telling you, they won't even contemplate on filing a motion for that. Even attacking their attorney fees calculations. You won't find another motion filed like that. The new culture empire is 100% rocket ship through the moon when it comes to litigation. A notice of filing a summary of voluminous records with a statement of grounds and a RESPA notice of error and request for information. Parts 2 and 4, the method. Why a fee cap is proved by the Georgia Supreme Court's own arithmetic. We use the own Supreme Court to prove what we're saying. And why a $1,718.09 spread across 3 of the servicer's own documents is worth more than any securitization theory. And why all 3 filings ask a judge for something a judge can actually sign. Not to mention, when I set the ledgers and their filings up to the, I really hate to say it because people start to feel alienated and, again, and all that. But I would just say this. They were blown away. The top people that worked, they didn't even, I taught them something new with that. They didn't even contemplate it. I was like, well, yo, you're not accountant, so I understand. They was blown away. I know they're going to start incorporating that now. Go ahead. Y'all shared a lot of information with me. If I could share something back with y'all, go ahead. Y'all could go ahead. Part 5, ranking. Where this work sits against the pro se field and against what the social media legal education market sells, scored on a published rubric and against the empirical literature. Everything is judged against the records. Everything is judged against the case histories. Everything is judged against what the courts already ruled. Everything is judged. It's none of that. Everything is unbiased and it's judged accurately. And then now you can see in the middle of litigation, Loan Depot reaching out. Now they want to get to a resolution in the case. Oh, that's it. Resolving the issues. That's one thing. They want to resolve these issues. Remember, they're already in default, already in judicial default. And remember when I said a filing, even when you're in default, it's not just file free house arguments. Notice what happens since February. I've been on board. March, April, May, June, July, August. 6 months. And you notice how we starting to chip away at them? A half a year, I've strategically said, no, we can't go for none of that right now. We got to survive the storm. You are in judicial default. You never legally responded to the complaint. So you're in judicial default. That doesn't mean they just win the house, because now you got to have a trial on the evidentiary on proving the balance due. The first one, got to stage that off. Second one, we stage that off. No quiet title. No. You're going to lose everything we built. We're going to lose if you try to go for a quiet title now, because pro se litigants, they lack the discipline. They want to throw every argument out there, 15, 30 counts, every argument, and don't know about strategic restraint. When to withhold some arguments back for a later stage when the time is more ripe. Oh, yeah. And this is why the things we went over last night, that represents 99% of people in these spaces. Part 6, why nobody wants their numbers run. The most useful service in this space is the one people decline. 6 reasons and why only 2 of them are bad ones. Part 7, the servicer calls back. A notice of error went out. The servicer says it is investigated and wants to talk. Every move available to it under Regulation X and what each one costed and how each one is answered. The hard part, what this file cannot do in the single finding in it that has an innocent explanation. Editorial note on identification and timing. The borrower's names, case numbers, loan property address, judges, and opposed accounts have been removed from the issue. Institutions are named as they appear in public filings and public records. 2 of the 3 matters discussed are pending and untried. Nothing here reports a ruling because there is not yet a ruling to report. Every filing described below is a filing, not a holding. Readers who intend to publish or recirculate this issue should note the pending trial postures and treats Part 3, 4, and 6 as strategy commentary on live matters. Part 1, the file. 3 documents, 2 jurisdictions, 1 federal regulatory channel, and a single organizing discipline running through all of them. There is a version of foreclosure defense that asks a court to accept a premise, and a version that asks a courts to do subtraction. This issue is about the second one, because in this space, these filings come from almost nobody does it. And remember, when I run checks on the dockets, on the records, see, it's one thing to look at social media as a measuring stick. It's another thing to actually check the records, the docket sheets, the orders, because that tells you a picture that social media will never tell you. They can never show you. Social media will never show you what the docket normally reflects. What follows is an examination of the 3 documents produced by one sub-represented litigation department inside a single working week. They were written for 3 different audiences: a Florida jury, a Georgia jury, a Florida bench, and a federal servicing regulators error resolution desk. And they run on 3 different bodies of law. They share one construction rule stated in the second of them in a single sentence. The filing contains no figure not reported by plaintiff itself and no calculation other than addition and subtraction, aka the ledger, hidden figures.
You're rocking with the best.
That sentence is the entire subject of this issue. And yes, all of these will be available on Patreon because, believe it or not, they're very informative. And then the sources, you can easily look up the sources and get more edification there. Everything in parts 2 through 5 is an examination of what the constraint buys, what it costs, and how rare it is. Filing A Georgia Superior Court jury trial calendar. Let's just stop. There isn't too many pro se guru teachers that can even prepare y'all for trial. Want to know why? Because none of them has ever sat through a trial themselves. Trial is trial. Motion in limine incorporated memoranda of law regarding plaintiff's attorney fees calculation filed by a self-represented borrower in a judicial foreclosure and suit on the note brought by Lakeview Loan Services, LLC, serviced by Loan Care, LLC. The motion does not contest entitlement to fees. What? You mean to tell me you not challenging their entitlement to the fees? Nope. No. It does not contest the debt. You're not saying you don't owe the debt? That's not yours? They can't? Nope. Nope. We're actually conceding it. Yep. They owe the debt. Yep. They owe you under this note. Yep. Yep. It asks the court to rule before the plaintiff states a fee figure in front of a jury that the percentage award under OCGA 13-1-11 subsection A2 be computed on principal and interest and on nothing else. The ledger, I ran the whole audits on them. The principal and interest, there's other things computed. So I looked at the statute. Oh, it's only principal and interest. Where's all this extra money coming from? Matter of fact, let's park it right here. Let's park just like Loan Depot, the rest of them. Just park it right here. And that 9 attorney labeled ledger entries totaling $6,101.25 be traced rather than stacked on top of the statutory number. You see how that argument is different than you're not entitled to collect. You haven't produced the original note. I don't owe you any money. That's not my signature. Produce the wet ink signature. The reason why you look at it like, what the hell? This is what I mean. Experience. The experience is the separation. You think I just started doing this? The experience is the separation. Filing B, Florida Circuit Court, non-jury trial, 3 hours reserved. Defendant's notice of filing summary of voluminous records and statement of the grounds for admission and relevance of defendant's trial exhibits filed by a self-represented borrower, defendants, in a judicial foreclosure brought by LoanDepot.com LLC. It is a pre-trial evidentiary instrument, not a brief on the merits. See the little nuances right there. Just little small things. It gives the statutory written notice required for a summary of voluminous records under Florida Statute 90.956. Every little thing you want to do in court, every motion, every notice, every filing, every brief is governed. So you can't just, and no caps, I told you this in the email. If they say respond to this, you can't respond. Anyway, you got to respond to that because you can get defaulted if you don't. That's why your affidavits of truth, when they say respond to the complaint, you'll go respond. Like, you know how people, they say respond to the complaint by this date, and then you'll respond. My bad. They'll tell you to respond to the complaint, but then you'll go respond with a notice of trespass, notice, Notice the principal, notice the agent, notice the agent, notice the principal, notice the Barney, notice the Pfeiffer, notice the Pinky, notice the brain, all that. This is why you get defaulted. Because now you just violated a standing order. You are ordered to respond within 14 days. That's an order. Orders, violation of orders come with sanctions. And your whole case may be lost. It's the little things. Remember, y'all? The little things. It's the little things. The teeny things. Don't worry about it. Just the little things. Gives the notice required for judicial notice under section 90.204 and states exhibit by exhibit. And yes, it was a doozy. What? 104 exhibits with the summer. This is why I found this notice, because it was voluminous. Exhibit by exhibit, the hearsay exception each document enters through and the issue it goes to. Its two targets are standing at exception and the amount lawfully due. That argument, the amount lawfully due, with the ledger and the report, is going to revolutionize how pro se litigants actually defend their cases. I mean, it is so powerful from when you're current. It's powerful probably even more when you're in default, because that's when they really start tacking in. It is going to revolutionize how pro se litigants defend. They're going to have to buy us out. They're going to have to buy me out. File and see. Federal regulatory channel. Regulation X. Notice of error. Y'all know the statute. 12 CF or regulation 12 CFR 102435. Request for information 12 CFR 2436. Sent by the same Florida borrowers to LoanDepot.com's error resolution department with a copy to counsel of record. 7 enumerated errors and 11 enumerated information requests. Every one of them sourced to a document Loan Depot generated or filed. When have you ever seen a notice of error using what they filed as the evidence of the error? Here's your error right here. Oh yeah, this document right here, these 2 documents right here, this is your error. You couldn't fix it in court. You couldn't explain it in court. So now, can you explain it now? Be careful what you say. Anything you say or use, anything you say can and will be used against you. So be careful what you say. Be careful with how you respond. You gaslight, got you. You're truthful, got you. See, we call that a rock in a hard spot for them. I'm tired of us being put in a rock in a hard spot. Now it's time to put them in a rock in a hard spot. Shout out to Johnny. And if I missed the gifter, my apologies, but this is for you. Five enclosures, all of them the servicer's own paper. Yo, that RESPA, that notice of error. Hey, listen, and I'm not even a 100% consumer arguments guy. I told you, I make highly more complex arguments. But when I started to look at the ledger and look at, these consumer, I will crush all of them with just their own numbers. Consumer claim, just with their own numbers, their own reports, everything that I will use everything against them and crush them with it, as we're doing here. As of this issue, the servicer has responded that it is investigating and wants to talk. Facts. Part 6 is about what that means. What the 3 have in common. Each filing asks for an order a judge or a regulator can enter without deciding the case. Each is built entirely out of the opposing institution's own documents. Shout out to Johnny. Appreciate you, broski. I don't know. Y'all know how it goes. Say that again. Each is built entirely out of the opposing institution's own documents. Just stop right there. For my potential clients and potential customers and potential borrowers, potential litigators, just ask yourself, take me out the equation because I don't want to make it seem biased. If you had anybody that is going to argue your case and you probably don't know what they said they were going to argue your case, it's probably the things that you heard before, probably some chain of assignment, chain of title, produce this, ask them for this, or you just have anybody saying, no, we're going to build your case based on what's already on the record. Basically, we're going to use their own record against them. If you just had to take a wild guess, which one would you be like, You had to choose one or the other. And each is narrow enough that the opponent has to answer it rather than answering a weaker argument standing next to it. The thesis of this issue: a theory asks a court to believe something. Arithmetic, the ledger, hidden figures, asks a court to check something. Your Honor, look what they put here. Now, hold on, Your Honor. Look what they put here. They don't add up. And then, just sit back. The first can be argued with. The second has to be answered. And it has to be answered by the parties whose documents produced it. Part 2, every number comes from the other side. The method demonstrated twice with the source of every figure identified. The constraint is easy to state and difficult to keep. No figure enters the filing unless the opposing party wrote it down first. That is the policy of the New Culture Empire. That's our policy. No operation is performed on those figures except addition and subtraction. No inference is offered that the arithmetic does not compel. Keep strictly, the constraint produces something unusual. A document that cannot be attacked on its facts because every fact in it belongs to the other side. Say it again. A document that cannot be attacked on its facts, like the ledger, because every fact in it belongs to the other side. This is what you produce. You want to attack yourself? The fight moves to whether the numbers mean what they plainly mean. And that is a fight the parties whose ledger it has to conduct against itself. What I say? The days of arguing theories that maybe, we don't know, possibility are over. The days of taking them and using them against them. That is the new standard. We are going to revolutionize the way consumers litigate. We're going to revolutionize it. Demonstration 1, the Georgia fee base. The servicer's own payoff statement lists 9 components. Georgia's statutory attorney's fee formula runs on 2 of them. The motion does nothing but separate the 2 groups. See, they had the pot. They had the baking soda. They had baking soda. I just poured the water in it. And then I just watched the separation. Okay, it separates here. Let me take these numbers here. Now I have the picture. Big Poppy. Now it's time to analyze. Payoff statement components as stated by the servicer. So you have a principal balance of $184,671.35. In the section 13-1-11A2 base, yes, principal. That's with the attorney's fees, statutory principal and interest. Then you have accrued interest, $11,953.16. Is it in the statutory base? Yes, interest. That's what the statute allows. Remember what I was saying? The oil, they had the baking soda in, or put in oil, and I just poured the water in to separate. See, all this, what you about to read next, was buried inside the statutory principal and interest. So you got the statutory principal and interest, then you had all this buried, aka this is the hidden figures. We find the hidden numbers. We find the numbers hidden inside the authorized numbers. And we pull those numbers out and say, you found it, now explain it. I mean, you give a logical explanation for it, I'm cool, but I don't think you can. So let's just no. We're gonna leave the conversation right here. No. Keep it right here. I know. Late charges, $330.90. Is it within the statutory base? Nope. Mortgage insurance advances, $261.10. Nope. Escrow advances, $14,479.96. Is it within the statutory base? Nope. Recoverable corporate advances. I told you this is how the system works. Totally different case. Same thing. No caps. Same thing. Georgia. Same thing. Florida. Same thing. New York. Same thing. They're all going to do the same thing. That's why I'm like, we have something revolutionary here. That's where when they're all going to do the same thing. I don't even give what mortgage service you with. Once I run the numbers, I already know it's going to say the same thing. Because this is how the system works. Property inspections, $30. Was it in statutory base? Nope. Foreclosure fees and costs, $475. That looks like the filing fee. Is it in the base? Nope. Total fees, $25. Is it in the base? Nope. Total payoff quote, $219,561.44. The source of these numbers. Payoff statement produced by the servicer. So you produced a statement. You produced the statement that had numbers that you produced that were outside the statutory limits. I didn't do it. You did it. This is what you did. What did I do so wrong? You did it. You decided to produce numbers that were outside section 13-1-11 subsection A2. I didn't ask you to do it. You did it. You just didn't think we was going to. You didn't think she had someone behind her, the hidden figures, the ledgers. That's what you didn't think. You didn't think that was going to come up. Payoff statement produced by the servicer, attached to the motion as an exhibit component, sum exactly to the quoted payoff. Statutory base, principal and interest equals $196,624.51. The non-base components, the hidden figures, $22,936.93. Unexplained. Ain't like it's $2 now. The same statute applied to the two candidate base. The base use is 15% of the first 500, 10% of the remainder. That is what the statute says. 15% of the first 500, 10% of the remainder. The problem is they don't think borrowers are going to get this technical, get split hairs, find the little lint balls. They don't expect borrowers to have an eye for this. See, this is something when I got the case, I was already looking for. They don't expect you to have the mindset to start looking for it, not waiting for it to pop up later on. You're looking for it. Like I'm actively searching for this. They would never do this if they knew many borrowers had the mind, the keen eye to start looking for it. But social media, these spaces, they don't teach y'all this. Because many teachers, they don't know themselves. But it's too much pride and ego, so they'll never admit it. They don't know it themselves. A lot of people you're taking advice from, they have no clue of this right here. You can't find this circulating groups. Can't find this from an old Gene King package. You can't find this Patrick Devine. You can't find this. This is self-created. Principal and interest, statutory, $196,624.51. Right? The entire payoff difference, $219,561.44. So the first 15% of the 500, the statutory principal and interest, 75. The entire payoff, quote, 75. 10% of the remaining was supposed to be $19,612.45, right? So the total fee that was supposed to be produced was $19,687.45. But the payoff that they sent, 10% of the remaining, was $21,906.04. And the fee produced was $21,981.14. The difference between the statutory amounts versus the payoff amount you get, $2,293.69, unexplained for. The hidden ledger, the hidden figures. It's a real thing. And you know why? I'm taking everything from real court cases live that I'm actively involved in. Real court cases, real numbers, real payoff quotes that they're sending my clients. And I'm using real life as an example. The consequence nobody was looking for. The wrong base does not merely overstate the fee by $2,293.69. It carries the award across 20,000. And OCGA 13-1-11 subsection B1 gives the party required to pay the fee a right to petition a judicial reasonableness determination before judgment only when subsection A2 award actually exceeds 20,000. She has a live, ripe, reasonable argument based on everything Lakeview filed. Your Honor, as an exhibit to support our claims, here's what they gave us. There you go. No, sit down. You're all right. See, it's not one blow like this. See, it's not just the hidden figures, the hidden ledgers. It shows intent to misstate. It shows lack of regard for the statutory. You see everything behind it when you find the hidden numbers, when they're coming to court like, this is what it is, this is what it is. And then you be like, uno reverse. No, it's not. You see how that's like a death by 1,000 cuts? Changing the judge's perception. Well, what else could you probably be doing? You know, it goes from this borrower just trying to get out the debt to, you know what? Let me hear what you got to say. That changes everything. Once you get a judge to, okay, I see what you're saying, changes everything. Now, little free houses that you want, as you start trending closer towards it, it won't be so far-fetched. Because when the judge comes to make their final ruling on it, you gave them a laundry list of reasons on why they should, building up the record for it. But nah, people impatient. They filed their initial complaint. Quiet title. I want the house now. I'm like, okay. On the correct base, the award is $19,687.45. And the petition right does not raise it. But they gotta be greedy. Remember I told you about greed? Oh, I just want to talk about people in this space. That's how I spank them. That's how I catch them. Being greedy. That's how they're being greedy. Got to slide an extra 2,000, 3,000. Being greedy. On the inflated base, the award is $21,981.14, and it does. The motion, therefore, does something a fee objection almost never does. It preserves the procedural right that the creditor's own error would create without waiving the position that the error should not be made in the first place. We didn't even say, oh, they were supposed to know. Nah, stay away. Tactical. I get surgical in court. Tactical. The algebraic break point is a principal interest base of $199,750. The current base is $3,125.49 below it, and the interest is running. I'm a numbers guy. All I do is numbers. I'm a numbers guy. Whether you got profit and loss statements, balance sheets, I can find you who's skimming. When I get a balance sheet, I can find you where you, if you're a business owner and you try to figure where my money going, I found where that money going. Give me all the receipts, give me everything, give me the transactions, give me all that. You're running. This has nothing to do with no trust. This is no trust. This has nothing to do with a social media theory. This has nothing to do with none of what you hear online every day. This is on a totally different level over here. Not the trust interest, just interest under the note. But this, I just want to preface that for anyone. This ain't no, all you got to do is just sign and come in equity today for this, just interest. Yeah. If anybody comes in here talking about, all you got to do is just sign it and give it back to them in equity. If you come in here with an opinion today, I'm going to mute you for the live. Today is not the day to hear it. I don't want to hear it because none of what you're talking about has anything to do with what's on the record. And if you come with that stuff, you're not, everything here is based what's on the record. So we're not coming with a theory to combat what's on the record. That's how people lose. You give your opinion about the subject matter at hand, but if you start coming with it, well, all you got to do is do this, you're out of here. The second filer performs the same operation on a servicer that has produced 3 separate records of one number. I need the record. Let it spin. Need that record. Need that record. That record, boy. All 3 are loan depots. All 3 cover the identical period through the identical cutoff date. 3 other servicers own totals for recoverable corporate advances. Same loan, same cutoff. Source document, account history, 105 entries. Internal servicing ledger filed by the servicer in the foreclosure action, $20,648.49. Customer activity statement. The statement the servicer sent to the borrowers, $19,078.90. Judgment figures, the recoverable corporate advance balance, the number the server asked the court to enter as a judgment, $18,350.40. The unexplained spread, highest to the lowest, $1,718.09 of, once again, unexplained money, aka the hidden figures. Just we in a different case now. It's not the same case. We're in a Florida case now. Same hidden figures. The spread decomposes exactly $989.59 between the ledger and the customer statement, $728.50 between the customer statement and the judgment figure. 9 charges account for the first gap, including a single $810 charge that appears on the internal ledger and nowhere on the statement furnished to the borrowers. And I be wondering, I be like, is this more just on a numbers game they run on people? Or what are the odds of anyone going to figure it out? What are the odds they're going to do this much work? Or what are the odds they're going to break? Is it that? Because it's getting crazy with how they doing this. They can't be running the numbers that good because $1,718.09 spread across the servicer's own records, identical cutoff. 91.4% of advanced dollars posted on or after the complaint was filed. $3,966.90. Attorney corporate advance entries inside the balance while fees are claimed separately. AKA, said another way, $3,966.90 of attorney's fees. But that same attorney's fees is built inside the corporate advances. Double dipping. The same number is in the corporate advances, but you got it separate over here as attorney's fees. Double dipping. Because I subtracted the corporate advances from that amount. And it still came up to the same amount. So I said, oh, they double dipping. 2,600. Tell them, no caps, numbers don't lie. Just like your numbers, they didn't lie. No caps, your numbers ain't lie. They didn't lie, brother. And yes, bro, but we gonna get it together. So slam the alley-oop. But no caps, like for real, between me and you, bro. Say that shit ain't boost your claims though. Like be honest though. Say that shit ain't taking your claim. Like, oh shit, I got their ass to say it ain't taking through the roof now. Say that shit ain't taking through the roof. USC, UC. No. This ain't got nothing to do with that. This is all based on the record. He said, what angle of the view we are looking for to win with this info? You're looking at it through the 5 lenses of the contract. Supreme Elite Team University style. As only the Supreme Elite Team. What's up, boy? As only. Which angle you looking for? Before you even get to this stuff, you already gotta be looking at the contract through the 5 lenses of the contract. As only the Supreme Elite Team University can do.
Don't miss out on this opportunity to litigate like a seasoned professional. Join the Supreme Elite Team University.
Thomas in the lobby, folded thicker than a skyline. Credit acceptance on a resume with stories in the fine lines.
The Supreme Elite Team University is not a hey, come get a couple templates and file. Supreme Elite Team University is actually a university. It's a mindset. It's training you to already look for this, know the source of where they really derive, break it down. It trains you to get to this level. This ain't something it's not something like you can't just go in one set and think, I understand what's going on. It's a whole lot of numbers to be broken down. It's a whole lot of figures. It's a whole lot of, call it the hidden figures. See, all this is not exposed on its face. It's in the hidden figures. So I go and find the hidden figures. That's why it's part of what I offer to people. Your numbers ran, the hidden figures, the ledger. Further advances posted after the judgment figures were filed. The move that turns a discrepancy into an argument. 3 totals for one number is a fact. What makes it a legal argument is the second operation, and it is the one that separates this work from ordinary ledger hunting. The filing reconciles the change between the servicer's 2 successive set of judgment figures and shows its closing to the penny. Successive judgment figures filed 3 weeks apart. Total interest. First set filed, $59,042.13. Second set filed, $61,956.15. What's the change? $2,019, $2,914.02. Second one, escrow advance amount. First set, $24,329.74. Second set filed, $24,753.98. What's the change? $424.24. Recoverable corporate advance balance, $16,955.90. First set, $18,350.40. Second set, what's the change? $1,394.50. Total amount to pay off, $417,784.10 on the first set. Second set is $422,516.86. What's the unexplained numbers? The hidden figures? The $4,732.76 that they couldn't explain in open court at the summary judgment evidentiary hearing, which precluded them from winning the house.
You're rocking with the best.
And for many people, Ali, I'm going to tell you this now, brother. For many people, this is too much for them. See, when many people on your side, Ali, they come on a live to see if someone has like a quick template on the screen that they can screenshot and copy, because you know teachers do that. Hey, here's the right to rescission, the notice of rescission. Look, yeah, I'm writing you blank John Henry doing this day, and people will screenshot and be like, "Oh shit, let me go file this because I need to hurry up and get something done." See, over here, they don't see that here, so they're looking at it like, I can't use this. Whole time, it's been working effectively in real time, and then we're gonna see why. We're gonna get to that part. The 3 component changes sum to $4,732.76 exactly. That closure is what forecloses the easy answer. A servicer facing a bare discrepancy can say the records are cut at different times and reconciles in ways the borrowers cannot see. Many borrowers will not know how to combat that because they don't have enough experience of dealing with this section right here. Here, it cannot. Its own 2 worksheets reconcile perfectly to each other, which establishes that these documents do tie when the underlying data ties. The 3-way advance split, therefore, cannot be dismissed as a timing artifact. Something in the advance column does not reconcile, and the servicer has already demonstrated that its worksheets reconcile when nothing is wrong. Why this is not a securitization argument? Nothing above requires a court to accept a contested premise about pools, trusts, QSIPs, or the nature of money. It requires a court to accept that $20,068.49, $19,078.90, and $18,350.40 are 3 different numbers. You see, ask yourself, if I had to raise that argument, how do you think my argument would look? Okay, what? Uh-oh. You got scalped by the system. I don't know what you say. I don't know if you try to sell some or spam. They scalped you. This is the whole load bearing proposition, and there is no responsive brief that makes it go away. 3 different numbers, 3 different judgment figures, 3 different across the same periods. None of them reconcile. None of them agree. Then we shut up. And we shut up. That's what we do. We do that and then we shut up. Because that's what you do when that's what you do. Throw it out there. Bam, bam, bam. They can't say nothing. Then you just shut up. Now, with that being said, and so when we get that part, then now when we go back, it doesn't sound far-fetched.
I'm beginning to agree with the defense that there's some confusion. I'm beginning to agree with the defense that there's some confusion.
Now, that's the ledger. That's what the ledger does. Oh, shoot. My bad. I got you. That's what the ledger does for you in open court. See, we're not just talking just motions. We talking about in open court as well. That's what the ledger does for you in open court as well. Open court. Part 3, proved by the other court's arithmetic. Why the Georgia motion central proposition established by the Supreme Court's own judgment figures, not by argument. The strongest form of a legal argument is one where the controlling case does not merely support the position, but performs it. The Georgia fee motion has that, and it appears to be the reason the motion is written the way it is. Exactly. That's why I wrote it the way it was. That's why I used Austin versus Bank of America. Georgia Supreme Court, 2013. The Supreme Court of Georgia affirmed a judgment in a residential mortgage collection. The judgment awarded 3 separate figures, set them side by side, and run the statute. Austin, the award figures and what the formula produces. Item in the affirmed judgment: principal and accrued interest, $1,700,059. Tax advances, $40,959.37. Statutory fees under 13-1-11, $170,030.90. Reproducing the awarded fee from the statute: 15% of the first $500 of principal and interest. Result: $75. 10% of principal and interest above $500. Result: $169,955.90. The total. So how you get to that is you're going to do 0.10 times $1,699,599. $1,699,599. So the figure actually awarded in the firm is $170,030. $170,030.90. The formula reproduces the affirmed award to the penny. And so I use the Supreme Court's formula and just transpose it on their payoff quote. And it does so only when the $40,959.37 in tax advances is left out of the base. Had the advances have been included, the same formula would have produced $174,126.84, and the Supreme Court of Georgia would have affirmed a different number. It did not. What that means for the motion: the Georgia's motion central proposition that escrow, corporate advances, late charges, mortgage insurance advances, inspections, foreclosure costs, and other fees are outside the percentage base. And there you have it.
You're rocking with the best.
Social media makes your arguments long, hard, drawn out. You got to do too much taking. We get straight to the point. Over here, we get straight to the point. Now, it does not rest on the movement's reading of the statute. Our interpretation of the statute, we ain't even got to get into that. It rests on the arithmetic of a judgment the Supreme Court of Georgia affirmed. So we use the Supreme Court's own formula. A respondent brief that argues for the broader base has to explain why $170,030.90 is not $174,126.84. Put all the pressure back on them to argue. The three doctrinal pieces in which each is load-bearing for. Harley-Davidson, the gate, not the merits. And a lot of people only want to use cases that's favorable to the borrower. I like to use cases that's even favorable to the banks. What do you mean? Case favorable? Nah. See, that's what I'm saying. Experience, years of experience. Professional attorneys do the same thing. That's got years of experience. I will use cases that's still favorable to the bank to prove my point. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time. The motion is brought under Harley-Davidson Motor Company versus Daniel, Supreme Court 1979, which recognizes that the trials court's power to prevent prejudicial statements before the jury and treats the motion in limine as a preliminary evidentiary ruling. The choice of vehicle is the strategic core. That's why I used it. The relief requested is not no fee. It is, before you say a number in front of these jurors, hand the court a worksheet showing the base, the cutoff date, the arithmetic, and where each attorney labeled ledger entry sits. A judge can grant that without deciding anything about entitlement, which is precisely why a judge is likely to grant it. They ain't got to get it. Judge, you ain't even got to get into it. Just. Oh, now they ask for a bench trial. Ain't asked for a bench trial in months. I put 2 motions on the record. Now I'm going to say motion for a bench trial. We'll roll with the punches. There's nothing about court that surprises me. There's nothing about court that can throw me off. I done seen it all and read it all. It don't surprise me. Typical. Nothing that's going to surprise me. Austin and the concession that comes with it. Austin also holds that a formula award is not reduced merely because it exceeds the creditor's actual fees. The motion cites that holding against itself in terms. Yeah, I cited that case goes against me. The movement does not argue that plaintiff must prove its actual legal bills to obtain the statutory percentage. No. Let's go. Vincent Edwards, get your ass up out of here. You ain't getting no free shit over here coming to be nosy. Get your ass up out of here. Nah, bruh. Nah, you can't sit in. You can't sit in. What's in here? You can't sit in. Nah. You can't sit in. The fuck you sitting in for? You don't understand nothing like this. You don't even understand this concept. What you sitting in for? You know I don't fuck with you. What you coming over here for? That's what I'm saying. These teachers, they come to be nosy. They got so much going on. You ain't never seen me in the Vincent Edwards live. I don't even watch from the outside. Keep it pushing. Fuck you over here for? You know I don't fuck with you. See? Just nosy. Can't stay away. Told y'all. It's a lot of them. They come with fake names and stuff. Watching from the outside. Now he about to go to one of his other chats and come sneak on the outside now. They can't stay away. They know the new culture has something they don't have. It's not something they'll admit openly. It's an internal spirit thing. Like when you know, like, damn. Like, because we're all humans. We know what it is. Everybody thinks this is a competition thing. My job is getting the work done. Who the fuck online am I going to compete with? There's anything I don't know, it's a phone call. Hey, yo, what's the documents they need that to really show that they own the note? What's the real documents that they need, bro? They're going to need this form and this form. Then I'm going to get the explanation on how it's supposed to go. So I already know. The fuck? I can pick up a phone call. No fucking competition. I don't compete with nobody. It's a waste of time. Everybody do their own thing. I do my own thing. The movement does not argue that plaintiff must prove its actual legal bills to obtain the statutory percentage. That is the single most professional sentence in the document. It removes in advance the argument the responding brief was going to lead with. Because I know that's what they're going to say. Before you try to use that as an argument, let me go ahead and concede it. They don't got it. Now, let's get back to business. Anticipation. Anticipating the response. Researching cases that are just as favorable to the other side than just cases favorable to you. Because now I know what they're going to rely on. And then dissect them and keep it pushing. It removes in advance the argument the responding brief was going to lead with, and it buys credibility for the argument that follows. Now the Long versus Hogan, the anti-stacking rule in Georgia. Long versus Hogan, 2008, holds that a suit on a note, section 13-1-11, limits recoveries of fees and expenditures relating to collection efforts, and that contractual labels such as cost of collection cannot evade the percentage limit. The services production lists $2,850 coded attorney fee judicial and $3,251.25 coded attorney fee non-judicial inside a corporate advance history. What did I just tell you about what happened in fucking Florida? They slapped their attorney's fees inside the advances, then seek a separate set. What they just do in Georgia, slap the same fees inside of a different heading. The hidden figures, the ledger. And the ledger is not even just for like borrowers. You teachers, you need to get the ledger for your students, for your clients. You need to get the ledger for your clients too. The motion does not allege double recovery. It asks the plaintiff to say where those entries are. Whether they sit inside the payoff, inside the advance balance, or are proposed to be added on the top. Told you, I know when a motherfucker cooking the books. I know when you're cooking the books. I read balance sheets. I dissect balance sheets. I dissected a multi-billion dollars balance sheet and found 190 million to 250,000 of misclassified items of income and no taxes paid on it. Because it's not uncommon in the corporate finance world to treat a transaction as sales for litigation purposes and a borrowing for tax purposes to get around the taxes. That's why I just blow my mind out. They sold your note. They sold your note. They sold your note to Wall Street investors. That is a rookie social media stripped down understanding. You don't really understand that concept, teacher. You don't understand what I just said. All these damn teachers, it's not me, not my job to tell you. You're supposed to know this, teacher. That question has 3 possible answers, and the plaintiff has to pick one on the record. The structure in one line: a statute with a fixed formula, a Supreme Court judgment that performs the formula, a Supreme Court judgment that performs the formula, a ledger that shows the entries, a motion that asks only for disclosure and arithmetic. Nothing in that chain requires the court to take the movement's word for anything. Part 4, an evidentiary instrument, not a brief. The Florida filing does 4 separate jobs, each within its own statute, and none of them argues the case. See, you got to remember the 30-year shift. You got to remember the shift. You got to remember the shift on the courts, how they see things. You got to shift. A lot of y'all are making arguments when you don't need to make arguments anymore. A lot of y'all be making arguments when you don't need to be making arguments. Always want the defendant always want to prove. It's not your job. Some things you don't need to make arguments. It's no point to make the argument. The facts, the record, sit back and ask questions. Ask the judge to decide out of all this, which one is true, which one is what's going on. Sit back. Stop trying to hey, you ain't do this, you ain't do this, you ain't show. Nah, sit back. Let them do all the work. Plaintiff has to prove the case, prosecute the case, has to approve the amounts due with reason. You know what I do? Amount due. No, those numbers are inconsistent. Shut up. All right, Your Honor, here's the updated version. No, those numbers are still inconsistent. Here's why. Shut up. No, just shut up. There is a worldwide prejudice against pro se litigants. And you have to understand that you are not met at the door with 100% equity and credibility. You can call it unfair. You can call it that's not right, but it doesn't change it. Every argument, every step you make in court has to be in the furtherance of the judge taking your claims as credible. They are not automatically just going to assume you're right just because you raise the defense. And I'm talking about when you get to trial level motions, when you get in open court, when you're proceeding that far. I know everybody wants to think you file a motion, challenge the affidavit, you challenge this, case over. Sorry, the real life public dockets don't reflect that. I don't care what social media says. The real life outside of here doesn't reflect that. You have to continue to make viable claims, authoritative motions before the judge starts to take your claim seriously. They're not just going to take them seriously off the break. You have to have a pattern so they show that you actually know what you're doing. You actually know how court goes for them to take you seriously. They're not going to take us seriously off the breaks because many pro se litigants don't understand court rules and procedures and how the courts interpret the court rules and procedure. See, it's not enough anymore for us just to learn the rules of procedure. You got to learn the court's interpretations of them. One statute, you could be seeing it, what's on its face, the judge would come to a different conclusion on how the court statute or the rule of procedure is. So who's wrong? The ones who's wrong is the one whose interpretation doesn't matter. That's why I don't ever teach my class on the statute says this is what it means. No. The statute means how the courts interpret it. That's what it means. What you see don't matter. The filing does 4 separate jobs, and each with its own statute, and none of them is argued the case. Most pro se pretrial filings are briefs wearing a procedural title. This one is the reverse. A procedural instrument that happens to contain an argument. Its 4 functions are worth separating because each is a different lever. 1. It perfects a summary of voluminous records. Florida Statute 99. Do y'all see what I have to know? Do y'all see the work that goes into this? I don't think y'all understand the work that goes. I have to learn, I have to know on top of multiple different statutes, multiple different cases. One person is scheduled for a trial. The other one is scheduled for another trial. The pre-trial motions, the deadline set, the rules that govern each stage. See, experience is what's allowed me to stay out in front of all this. You don't really hear teachers talking about, I have trial coming up for my client. We have to prepare for trial, because that's a totally different game than from responding to emotion and challenging records and all that. Nah, it's a different ball game outside that. Florida Statute 9956 permits voluminous writings to be presented as a chart or summary on conditions. The Florida Supreme Court has enforced those conditions strictly. In Tallahassee Housing Authority versus Florida Unemployment Appeals Commission, a summary was erroneously omitted where written notice was not given and the underlying data was not shown to have been made available. These are professional lawyers who didn't do it right. These are professional attorneys that didn't do it right. An arguable actual notice was insufficient. The filing is that written notice. So my filing itself, yeah, they didn't do it right. So when I did the filing itself is the written notice. Filed in advance with the underlying data being the plaintiff's own 2 ledgers already in the plaintiff's hands. Then it turns the statute around. It reserves the identical objection to any condensed statement the plaintiff offers, any account information statement, payoff summary, or judgment worksheets that tabulates the underlying ledgers rather than reproducing them. The plaintiff's judgment worksheet is exactly such a document. The filing has complied with 90.956 and set the same trap for the other side in the same paragraph. Better have me on another wave. Well, listen. My job is to motivate, inspire, innovate, and trailblaze. So if I motivated at least one person, my job is done. And
You're rocking with the best.
By doing so. 2, it exploits an asymmetry in the hearsay rules. Every plaintiff document the defendants offers comes under 90.803 section 18 as a statement of a party opponent. No business records predicate required. I remove that hearsay right out the window when I'm using their own records as the source of my filing. Every one of those same documents offered by the plaintiff to prove the amount due requires the full 90.8036 foundation through a witness with actual knowledge of how the data was produced. Yisrael versus State, Gloria versus LaSalle Bank, with the successor servicer qualification, and Bank of New York versus Callaway. You see, those were 3 different hearsay rules set precedents in 3 different, by the same court in 3 different cases, and each added a little piece. So the hearsay rule, exception to hearsay rule, is not cut and dry. Because in this case, they rule, oh, well, there's an exception here. Here's a requirement here. In this case, they rule up, but here's another requirement here. And here's, in this Bank of New York, it's the up, but if it's a prior successor, yeah, this is still good. But if you got to do this and got to do that. That's why when you read the hearsay rule in Florida, it's not cut and dry. You read throughout the United States of America, if you read a rule of procedure and you stop there, you are doing yourself a disservice. Courts have consistently, over the last 30 years, applied multiple different interpretations to the same rule. So your job is to find the uniformity. You got to do the numbers game. How many have consistently? What's the most consistent interpretation? What's the least consistent interpretation? Meaning, you got to read multiple cases governing that same rule. They do it all the time. Yeah. I put it in the last newsletter. Courts change the rules to the game and the statutes through interpretation, aka court doctrines. That's how a statute changes without ever touching a letter on it, by just interpreting it different. Interpret it this way for 10 years, then you interpret it this way. Guess what? The statute just changed. Classic example. A statutory violation of the FCRA, FDCPA, statutory damages. Judges were ordered. How did the courts change the statute? By ruling just citing a statutory violation without real-world concrete injury doesn't satisfy the statute. So they just changed the statute to add real-world concrete injury without the statute ever even mentioning it. They just changed the statute. That's how they changed the laws. And since statutes and courts and rules and regulations and case law is all matter of interpretation, there ain't no need for the Supreme Court to come in and set it straight, because they keep it out the Supreme Court's purview when all the appellate courts on down are uniform. Yeah. And this is what I call the nuances of court. A statute that may be good for us today, or case law that's good for us today, may not be good for us tomorrow. That's how the game goes. That's how the game goes. Look at everybody from 2007 to 2012 making these securitization arguments, chain of assignment arguments, void, late transfer to the remix. Now look at 2013 and above. Those same arguments that were giving you some headway from 2007, 2012, tried in 2026. That's how the game goes. And I think it's done as a balancing act. You can't have a precedent that just stands forever for borrowers. Like, it's a balancing act. The banks got away with it for years. Then with the 2008 recession, public opinion was, everybody hated the banks. So the same argument, the same documents that the banks were allowing them to win people's homes for 30 years prior to it, now, since public opinion came, now they're going to scrutinize the same documents. You've been letting them win on it. Now you just scrutinize it more. Hey, all right, courts, everybody, all right, they got their remedy, all right, everybody, okay. Now, let's go back. Now you can't win off those arguments again. You see, that's court. Flip-flop, that's court in the arguments. The filing says so explicitly and reserves accordingly. The practical effect at trial, the defendants can read from the plaintiff's ledger freely, and the plaintiff cannot, not until it produces a witness who can explain how the figures were generated. See, we can use they can't use that though, because we're using that to show the issues. They can't use it to prove it. I flipped it on them. I took their whole arguments and just flipped it on it. Took their evidence, used it against them while foreclosing them to use the same evidence against us. We can use it. You can't. Readers of Volume 2 will recognize the doctrine. This is what it looks like used from the other direction. 3, it converts 2 codes on a worksheet into a document list. The plaintiff's own file worksheet states investor type GNMA and investor number G13. The filer requests judicial notice under 90-202 subsection 5 and 90-202-12 of the Guinea May Custody Manual and gives the 90-204 notice in the same document. The manual is an official publication of a federal instrumentality. Judicial notice is a modest ask. What it buys is not modest. It translates 2 codes into specific documents that either exist or do not. A note endorsed in blank without recourse by the pooling issuer, an original note held by an approved document custodian rather than by the issuer or its servicer, no lost note affidavit permitted as a substitute, and a release from the custody only on a single prescribed release form stating the reason. The plaintiff's certification of possession places the original note in its law office, verified by a law firm employee, and the note bears a blank endorsement executed for the plaintiff by an investor delivery manager. The 3-door question. If the loan was in a Guinea May pool when the complaint was filed, one of the 3 things is true. And the filing lists all 3 rather than picking one. I said, you know what? I know what? You know what? One of these 3 are true, Loan Depot. You pick one. Freedom was good. One of these 3 are true, Loan Depot. You pick one. Pick one. That's all you got to do. Pick one. I already know what you have to do. I already got the document that you were supposed to file. If you're really what you say you are, pick one. See, we never argue. Well, see, they didn't do that. We just said, and just leave it in the air. Remember, we don't make legal conclusions over here. We sit back and let the judge be like, well, Loan Depot, you got to say about this? Door 1, the note had already been released to the plaintiff under the prescribed release form, blank, which has never been produced. Door 2, the loan was repurchased out of the pool on a date the plaintiff has never disclosed. Door 3, the original note was in the custodian's vault and not in the plaintiff's hands. Each has different consequences. All 3 records are the plaintiff's. See? Loan Depot, you're the only one that can answer which doors. You're the only one that can walk through one of those 3 doors. We're waiting. We're waiting. This is called strategy. Hey, Chase, tie him up in a pickle every time. And I don't even do nothing spectacular. I just sit back, analyze, and be patient. Each has different consequences. All 3 records are the plaintiff's. The filing does not choose. It asks the witness to. That's a question that can be answered in one sentence if the answer is favorable. And the fact that it has not been answered in 2 years is the argument. The argument isn't door 1, 2, or 3. The argument is they haven't decided to choose a door. Anybody going to choose a door? Y'all going to choose a door? I'm just saying 2 years later, y'all going to choose a door? We ain't coming up off this. We going to continue to say the same thing. You going to choose a door, Low Depot? Anytime soon? It refuses the inference it is entitled to draw. This is part that distinguished the document from the genre, having laid out the four missing pool, release, custody certification, and authorized signatory forms. The filing states, the defendants do not ask the court to draw a conclusion from absence alone. I said, nah, courts, you're going to not get in the way of this. You're going to sit your ass on the side and let them answer it. Matter of fact, Judge, can I sit right here next to you? Yep, because I already know what's going to come when they do. Let me go ahead and sit right here next to you, Your Honor. Can I put my arm across your shoulder? Yeah. Yeah, because the order's right here. You're going to go ahead and sign this order as soon as they answer, right? As soon as they answer, you already know what you can do, right, Judge? Yeah, go ahead and sign this order right here. Yep, as soon as you answer. Go ahead. As soon as they provide an answer, go ahead. We waiting on them. And they go to order right there. Go ahead. They can't answer the question, because if they answer the question in any of the three ways, the case is over. That's why they can't answer. This is why I slid it into motion and limine before trial. Now, this is an argument that has to take place before trial resumes. We should make the argument. I said, no. Back in April. No. The time is not right. Remember, court's about ripe timing. Timing is more, in court, timing is more important. True Seeker, what's up? In court, timing of the argument sometimes is more powerful than the argument itself. You could be having the right argument, you just raised it at the wrong time. Now we getting here. Let's revisit the argument. We didn't forget it. The defendant does not ask the court to draw a conclusion from absence alone. They ask that the burden be placed where the law places it. And then commits to withdrawing any objection that production resolves. It does the same with judicial estoppel. Having invoked Bloomberg versus USAA Casualty Insurance Company, if you think all my cases are just going to be foreclosure, mortgage, borrower cases, you don't know the new culture empire. I will cite cases that has nothing to do with a foreclosure just to bring my point home in the foreclosure. There's no case that is off limits to me if it proves my point. In these spaces, only foreclosure cases. I see an ocean ready to be explored. Bloomberg versus USAA Casualty Insurance. It immediately concedes that Bloomberg arose from positions taken in successive proceedings and supplies the fallback in the next sentence. Whatever the estoppel doctrines reach, the plaintiff's in-court representation is a party opponent statement under 9803.18 and is available on cross-examination regardless. Read that again. Whatever the estoppel doctrines reach, the plaintiff's in-court representation is a party opponent statement under 9803.18 and is available on cross-examination regardless. The filing states the limits of its own strongest doctrine before opposing counsel does. Anticipation. I answer their arguments before they even do. Your Honor, this is limited to the... Don't worry, Loan Depot. I'll say it for you. And has the alternative ground already in place when it lands. In 16 pages, there is not one request the court cannot grant, and not one factual assertion that is not the plaintiff's own. The amount due section supplies the same discipline. It opens by giving away everything that reconciles. Principal, interest, and escrow reconcile, and defendants raise no issue with them. That's taken from my own motion. You want to know when I concede in cases? It proves that you are credible. Courts love when you concede to arguments that it's already well established. They love when you can. They take you seriously. He understands court. No, Your Honor. Principal, interest, and escrow reconcile, and defendants raise no issue with them. They good there. Roughly 95% of the demand is conceded in one clause. What remains is the advance column, and the whole trial has been narrowed to it. Right here. We could see principal interest. You ain't got to bring it up. You got you. Right here. That's what we want. Right there. When I read an appellate's brief that contains 10 or 12 points, a presumption arises that there is no merit to any of them. Judge Ruggiero J. Alderser, winning on appeal in 1992. Filing A raises 1 point. Filing B raises 2. Filing C raises 7 errors and 11 requests. And it is not a brief. It is a statutory demand where enumeration is the mechanism. This entire defense portfolio shows an elite grasp of both procedural leverage and strict arithmetic, a dual-pronged strategy that marries a structural attack on the bank's chain of title via GNMA guidelines with a surgical, numbers-driven restriction of their maximum fee recovery under AI, OCGA 13-1-11. We print out, then we discount it. Automated review can identify structure. It cannot tell you whether a judge will sign the order. The reason it appears in this issue is that it names the right to filings, procedural leverage, and strict arithmetic. And those are the two things parts 2 through 4 have just demonstrated from the documents. The praise is not the evidence. The $170,030.90 and the $1,718.09 are the evidence. Remember, this motion for summary judgment. I wouldn't do it yet. I wouldn't do it yet. I wouldn't do it yet. The reason why I wouldn't do it yet, because there in this paint, there's no need to do it. Because all the weight is on them to prove. Like, a motion for summary judgment would kind of let them off the hook. In this case, yeah, and let them off the hook. They can get into their default, their judicial default. See, and judges, they just have a hard time granting the motion for summary judgment. But you got to think about a summary judgment. That's asking the judge to award you something as a matter of law. They're the defendants in a foreclosure, in judicial default, in a contract default. What am I asking the judge to award? What can they give me? You get what I'm saying? I don't see, like, what are we giving you? A free house? Well, they can't prove the numbers. Well, this is why we have this stage right here. So I'm gonna let this. The reason I'm gonna let this play out, because this actually is more, to me, is more powerful than the summary judgment at the stage. Where this work sits against the pro se field, against the social media legal education market, and against the defense bar, scored on a rubric we published so you can disagree with it. Rankings without a stated method are marketing. So here's the method first, the data second, and the placement last, including the places where the placement is lower than the reader might expect. First, the baseline the field is actually operating in, what the empirical record says about self-representation. Finding, federal civil cases with at least one pro se party from 2000 to 2019. 27%. Source, Administrative Office of the Courts, Just the Facts 2021. Civil cases in state court with at least one self-represented party, 76%. Source, NCSC, Landscape of Civil Litigation in State Courts. Win rate, pro se defendants against a represented plaintiff. The foreclosure posture. I'm sorry. Less than 14%. And the first one, less than 76%. M. Levy, Empirical Patterns of Pro Se Litigation in Federal Courts. University of Chicago Law Review 2018. That's actually a good read. Win rate, pro se plaintiffs against a represented defendant. Less than 4%. Win rate, pro se plaintiff against a represented defendant. Less than 4%. These are historic data. So social media, everybody win. It's BS. Social media doesn't give you the real reality. Win rate when both sides are represented, 51%, less than 51%. Figures are approximate and reported and cover recorded judgments in federal district courts from 1998 to 2017. They are cited for order of magnitude, not for precision in any particular case. Read the third row against the first two. Roughly 3/4 of state civil cases contain a self-represented party, and in a posture that matters here, a represented institutional plaintiff against a self-represented defendant. This deck is already stacked against. I don't give a damn what type of teacher you think you are. All of us. When you're helping someone who's representing themselves in court and the other side is represented by an attorney, the deck is already stacked against. That's just what it is. Stop acting like it's not. It is what it is. The self-represented side prevails in roughly 1 in 7 cases. Levy's central conclusion is worth stating plainly. 2 decades of district court procedural reform produced no measurable improvements in pro se outcomes. 2 decades of district court procedural reform to account for many pro se litigants representing themselves to lax things a little bit. Don't be so technical because it's really only for attorneys. But when they seen the influx of pro se, they started to lax them. Now, I can't hold them to the same standards. They ain't go to school. It's going to be unfair. You can't hold them to every single technical thing. It's going to be unfair. You know, the lawyers, they know it. They don't. And the success rate for pro se litigants is still here. The reason, in access to justice literature, it is not intelligence and it's not effort. Rebecca Sanford's work on professional expertise, Elements of Professional Expertise, 2015, separates lawyers' substantive expertise from their relational and procedural expertise and finds much of the measured advantage sits in the second category, relational, and procedural expertise, knowing which procedural move is available, when, and in what form. That's how they beat pro se litigants. When? What's available? When to move? What form? What I just say? Strategic. No, don't make that now. Hold on. The time is not ripe yet. Good argument. Client, I hear what you're saying, but not right now. Not right now. Let's hold it back. Oh, right here. Now we bam. Same thing I be saying. Knowing it's the methodological caution on the other side. Representation affects are smaller and more context dependent than advocates assume. Together, they define the gap a self-represented litigant actually has to close. It's a procedural gap, not an intelligence gap. The procedures, how things go, how things run. What's the procedure in open court? When to object? The jury instructions, when to say this, when to file this motion, when to not to file this motion, when to say this, what's your legal objection, how to move that, when to file this motion, not to file it, it's too early, what's the timing, what's the judge going to say, what the case all got to say about it. Procedural. More than intelligence. That's the issue in these spaces. Many people think intelligence alone is going to get them through the door. Absolutely not. The rubric, 5 tests. Each is answerable from the face of a filing without knowing the outcome. Test, the existence. The question, does the relief requested exist? And can this court grant it on this record? The test. 2, the question. Provenance. Is every operative fact traceable to a document the opposing party created? The test. 3, fidelity. Is each authority cited for what it actually holds? And has the disqualifying case been found and read? And that's the whole point. This trap. When you focus so much on cases that are favorable to the borrower, but you don't understand or know the cases that actually disqualifies that case, you're running yourself into the pro se trap. 4, the answerability. Is the argument narrow enough that the opponent must answer it and hard enough that answering costs something? 5, self-limitation. Does the filing concedes its own weak points before opposing counsel names them? I don't know why people try to hide and act like it. I'll concede when they prove this, we don't make no arguments there. You want to know why? Judges love that. You want to know why? Because professional attorneys concede. When pro se, y'all don't concede at all when you need to. Because the mindset, as I said last night, court for many people is an extension of the debt elimination process. So conceding in your mind means I don't get this free house. Even though I'm in the hole $60,000 on it, ain't make a payment in 6 months. I filed bankruptcy to delay the foreclosure. I done filed lawsuits to delay. I done appealed to delay. I done went and put the home in the trust to delay. And this is the part where people start to have a problem with me. Because now, to them, I'm attacking their belief systems or things that they spent money on. The placement. Score 0 through 5 per test. Editorial assessment in the public's arraignment. Tier 4. The mortgage elimination market. Securitization audits. QSUB lookups. Show me the note. Discharges, set off notices. Private administrative process. Now, on 1, is every operative fact traceable to a document of the opposing party? That scores a 0. I'm sorry. On 1, does the relief requested exist and can the court grant it on this record? The mortgage elimination market scheme, 0. No. That pretty much kills everything that they talk about on social media in court. 0. Second tier, pruvient. Is every operative fact traceable to a document the opposing party created? They scored a 1. 0 to 5. Because you may have your QWR responses. 3. Is each argument cited for what it actually holds? And has the disqualifying case been found in red? In the mortgage elimination market, 0 the score. Answerability. Is the argument narrow enough that the opponent must answer it and hard enough that answering costs something? They scored a 1. 5. Self-limitation. Does the filer concede its own weak points before the opposing counsel names them? 0. So, tier 4, the mortgage elimination market scores a 2 on this cube. Tier 3, the earnest self-represented litigant reads the rules, cites the rules, does not apply them to the facts. Volume, just pounding on counts, treated as strength. This is 96% a pro se litigant. You read the rules, you cite the rules, does not apply them to the facts, and your volumes of arguments are treated as strength documents. Now, do the chart again. 1, does the relief requested exist? Can this court grant it on the record? They scored a 3. Pruvient. Is every operative fact traceable to a document the opposing party created? They scored a 2. Fidelity. Is each authority cited for what it actually holds? And has the disqualifying case been found in red? Scored a 2. 4. Answerability. Is it narrow enough that the opposing party must answer and hard enough that answering costs something? They scored a 1. Does it concede its own weak points before the opposing counsel names them? They scored a 1. Tier 3, the earnest self-represented litigant scores a 9. And this is taken from courtroom documents, data sheets, reports. You've seen the sources earlier. I just said measure mine up against the rest. I measure my equity when I do what the law can't. That's a fact. No, but not in this space, Freedom. Not in this space. You're wrong. In this space, equity, forget the law. As long as I got equity, that's good enough. Not in this space. That's in real life, but in this space, nah. They don't want to hear that. Nah. Tier 2, component foreclosure defense of counsel. Narrow evidentiary motions, foundation objections, fee cap arithmetic, preserve record. Tiers 1, they scored a 5 for the existence. There's a relief requested. Can this court grant on the record? So an attorney scored a 5. 2, is every operative fact traceable to a document the opposing party? They scored a 4. Fidelity. Is each authority cited for what it actually holds? It has a disqualifying case and can be found in red. They scored a 5. Is the argument narrow enough that the opposing opponent must answer it and hard enough that answer may cost you something? They scored a 4. Does the filer concede its own weak points before opposing counsel names them? They scored a 3 for a grand total of 21 points. Tier 1, the 3 filers in this issue. Does a relief requested exist? Can this court grant it on the record? Scored a 5. Is every operative fact traceable to a document the opposing party created? Scored a 5. Is each authority cited for what it actually holds and has the disqualifying cases can be found in red? Scored a 5. Is the argument narrow enough that the opponent must answer it and hard enough that answer it costs something? Scored a 5. Does the filer concede its own weak points before opposing counsel names them? It scored a 5. The tier 1 score is a score for work product and only for work product. It says the filings asks for relief that exists. Source every fact to the opponent. Cites authority accurately. Presents arguments that must be answered. And concedes their own soft points in advance. It says nothing about outcomes because no court has ruled. A reader who scores tier 2 higher on test 3 on the ground that licensed counsels has institutional access to unpublished orders and local practice has no self-represented litigant is making a fair point, and we will not argue hard against it. Against the social media educational market. And why do I do this? Social media, because many people are not going to try to compare themselves to top elite professional and law firms. When I judge and rank my stuff, I'm always looking to how do I rank amongst this top 100, 200 law firm. I can't rank my stuff amongst what's on social media. But I can't use the top law firms for social media because everybody here is pro se mainly. The comparison is the reason the rubric has test 1 on it. What the market sells versus what the record says. The note was securitized, so nobody can enforce it. Rejected, the record says, rejected on the merits across circuits and states. C. Wilk versus GMAC Mortgage, Minnesota, 2012. The leading opinion addressing the mass show me the note filings and counsel sanctions. What the attorneys was filing, show me the note. And they was getting sanctioned. So the average mortgage defense on here is taking the same arguments that these attorneys, they were arguing in the early 2007 to 2012. It's nothing like brand new. The average mortgage defense social media teacher is pretty much going to say the same things from 2007 to 2012, which all those arguments have now been foreclosed. In the Fifth Circuit in Martins and Regal, examined in our special edition, a forensic audit. The CFPB attained a permanent ban and $3 million in redress against a leading audit promoter. Federal courts have declined to where you at? But pretty much they've declined to accept them. Prove your loan is void. With the record, I'm sorry. Federal courts have declined to receive such reports as evidence. With the market sales, prove your loan is void. Send a discharge, set off, or private administrative notice. Uniformly rejected as a means of extinguishing an obligation. In the file examined in our special edition, the notice preceded the default and became the defendant's best exhibit. Stop paying while you fight. The CFPB lists this as a leading red flag of a foreclosure relief scam. The FBI, FTC, and FHFA maintain standing advisories on the same conduct. File everything. More counts, more chances. All the cert above. And the forfeiture rule. Undeveloped, conclusory, or perfunctory arguments are not considered on their merits. Test 1. Does the relief request exist? Disposes of that entire column before any of it reaches a merits analysis. It is also the test the 3 filings in this issues pass most easily, because every order they requested is procedural. Lay the foundation first, disclose the worksheet outside the jury's presence, accept the summary under the summary statute, answer these 7 errors within 30 days. Honest ranking. Against the self-represented field, this is top decile work product, and the gap is not close. Against competent foreclosure defense counsel, it is competitive on these particular motions. The fee cap arithmetic in the section 90.956 notice disciplines are as good as what the defense bars files and better than what most of it bothers to file in a case this size against the outcome. It is unproven, and this publication will not pretend otherwise. 2 of the 3 matters are untried. Ask again after the rulings. Oh, after the finals of the case, win, lose, or draw, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it because I know court. I do court. Wins or losses are part of the same game. It's part of the game. I don't run away from losses just as much. I don't run away from my wins. I don't run from them. And there's nothing that you can tell me that is going to get me scared or lose my confidence. The problem is, y'all be following these 100% wins, every wins, and they're not showing you the reality of courts. Yes, you actually learn more through a loss than you actually learn to win. Now, you learn more from a loss than you're learning to win. If you lived a life, you never had no loss, never had no setback, never lost nothing, never had to go through hardships, congratulations, you are a unicorn. You are blessed. But I've taken my fair share of losses in life. I've had my fair share of setbacks. I've had a whole lot of money at one time, and I didn't even have $1 in my pocket to get on a bus at one time. I know what it feels like to be up. I know what it feels like to be down, and I know what it feels like to be everywhere in between. Facts. Yeah. Yeah, work. I know what it feels like in between. Do you have perseverance? Do you have the courage to keep going on to your next case, even though you may lose again? It takes courage to do legal work. The chances are you're either going to win or you're going to lose. Do you have the courage to tighten up, get better, and progress? It's brutal in court. It's brutal. And I've been on both sides, civil and criminal. My biggest opponent, the most brutal test, was the federal government. It's battle tested by the federal government. Trust me, I know how vicious this shit can get in court. That's why I'm more realistic than anything, because I've seen it all play out. I've seen lawyers win cases where I thought they was going to lose, and I've seen lawyers lose cases where I thought they were going to win that had everybody scratching their head. What? I've seen cases where the judge just like, the hell is he thinking? It's court. Right then we got appellate courts. You do realize all the rulings that became favorable to the borrowers in the last 15 years, they had to go on appeal to get it. The appellate court reversed summary judgment. The appellate court reversed summary judgment because the bank didn't prove this. The appellate court reversed this because of that. Why do you think we got appellate courts? Knowing that there's a chance you may lose, you should be thinking about that and making sure you preserve certain arguments just in case you got to go on appeal. Prepare ahead of time. Don't go into court thinking it's just 100% win. And this is the part where I can't stand with a lot of these teachers, because that's all they promote. It's 100% wins, 100% wins. I never lose. And the time that they lose, they hide it from social media so you don't never know. You got to prepare. All you can do is prepare. You don't determine how the judge is going to rule. You don't determine how the jury is going to rule. You don't determine the outcome. Anybody online that is promising a particular outcome in any case, they are lying to you. They're lying. Why is your... You can make that comment. You can make that comment. Chase. I don't know why they hide your comment. You can make that comment. You ain't say nothing. All you could do is prepare. So in these spaces, everybody wants to hide the losses. No, you need to talk about it. Turn your teachers, you need to turn your losses into a teaching moment. Turn it into a teacher moment. Stop trying to hide from and paint this perfect picture. You're not fooling me. I know court, you can have the right arguments and the judge still rule the other way. I know that. Stop trying to paint a picture. Just be honest. Everybody been through it. Y'all know what it's like to be like, what the heck? Don't hide from it. You got lawyers that's been seasoned 30 years. They wore their L's. They took L's. They had to appeal. Top professional law firms, lawyers, they had to go to appeal. They lost. If top professional attorneys are losing, what makes you think you're going to have a 100% record? There is no 100% record in court. Let's stop trying to put this crazy ass standard. It makes no sense. It's how you prepare, how you respond, and how you get ready for court. It's all we can do is prepare for court correctly, accurate case law, proper interpretation, making the right arguments, getting the right things on the record, making them prove it, using their own documents against them. You ace what you can ace. Control what you can control. Stop worrying about things that you can't control. Control what you can control. Focus on what you can control. We know it's houses on the line. We know it's livelihoods on the line. Don't let that deter me. We control what's in front of us. Stop worrying about a ruling that hasn't been made yet. Stop worrying about a what if when that what if is not in front of us. The most useful service in this space is one that people decline. 6 reasons, and only 2 of them are bad ones. Offer to reconcile a homeowner's loan against the servicer's own records. No theory, no promises, no audit, just a ledger against the statement, against the filed worksheet, and a meaningful share of people say no. No, offer the same method to someone else who teaches foreclosure defense to an audience, and the refusal rate goes up, not down. That pattern is worth explaining because it is the reason good methods spread so slowly in this field. The arithmetic threatens the story before it threatens the bank. Part 1. A reconciliation has exactly 2 possible outputs. It either finds something or it finds that the principal, interest, and escrow tie cleanly and the entire exposure is a few $1,000s sitting in an advance column. The second output is a good result. It tells you precisely where to fight, where the fight is, and more valuably, where it's not. Let me read that part again. Part 1, a reconciliation has exactly 2 possible outputs. Either it finds something or it finds that the principal, interest, and escrow tie cleanly and the entire exposure is a few $1,000s sitting in an advance column. The second output is a good result. It tells you precisely where the fight is and, more valuably, where it's not, which is how 3 hours of trial time gets spent on the one column that does not reconcile instead of 9 that do. But to a person who has been told for 2 years that the loan is void, your interest math is correct, it's not a finding. It is a bereavement. Look again at the sentence from the Florida filing, quoted in Part 4. Principal, interest, and escrow reconcile, and defendants raise no issues with them. Yes, but I admitted that. That single clause gives away roughly 95% of the demand. It is unpublishable in the mortgage elimination market. And it is the exact sentence that makes the remaining 5% credible to a judge. 2, escalation of commitment. The money is already spent. The behavioral literature on this is old and settled. Barry Stahl's work on escalation of commitment, Knee Deep in the Big Muddy, 1976, describes decision makers who allocate more resources to a failing course of action precisely because they are responsible for the prior investment. Festinger's dissonance framework and Kunda's work on motivated reasoning, Psychological Bulletin, 108 Psychological Bulletin 480, 1990, predict the rest. A homeowner who has paid $1,500 for a securitization audit is not evaluating the audit. They are defending the purchase. Asking them to run a reconciliation that may show the audit was worthless is not asking for a document. It is asking them to write off a decision they have already had to justify to a spouse. Shit. Three, the theory is an identity, not a strategy. For a substantial part of this space, about YouTube. I get what's up, y'all. Besides, say, peace, King. Studying your YouTube videos for the past week. You're a phenomenal teacher. I look forward to joining your team soon. Respect.
You're rocking with the best.
Respect, brother. Hey, you too. My bad. I got my screen shared, so I can't see the comments in time. My bad. Let me put them on the stage. I keep forgetting to do that. Respect to you, brother Maurice. Respect, brother. Yes, sir. We'll be happy. We'll be happy to have you. The theory is an identity, not a strategy. For a substantial part of this space, the securitization and discharge framework is not a litigation tool that happened to fail. It is an account of the world. The wrong done to you was structural, not clerical. The system is fraudulent rather than sloppy, and the remedy should be proportional to the size of the wrong. A reconciliation offers a smaller wrong. It says the injury is $1,718.09 of unexplained advances and a fee computed on the wrong base, not a conspiracy. That is experienced as a demotion. Courts read the vocabulary of the larger theory as a pattern recognition, as our special edition set out. The person using it experiences the same moment as being told their injury does not count. That's all it's saying. This is all what people hear. I spent money on has to work. You trying to say what I spent money on didn't work? I just spent $1,500 on nothing? I can't think that. 4, the expectation was set at a free house. When success has been defined as debt elimination, everything short of it reads as a consolation prize. A fee capped at $19,687.45 instead of $21,981.14. A $1,718.09 spread the plaintiff has to explain. 15 days of free document production without filing a motion. Each of those is real leverage, and none of them is a house. Not knowing little discrepancies like that leads to the bigger thing. Leads to the bigger things. The Yale Law Journal comment in defense of the free house is useful here for a reason that has nothing to do with its argument. The framing is uncontested on both sides of the debate. Everyone in the discussion knows what the theories are for. Once that is the yardstick, competent work measures short. Once the free house mentality was set in stone, anything that's offered that's not promising that, people are going to tune out. They won't admit it, but you can track where they spend their money. They won't admit it, but where they spend their money tells the story. And some of the reasons are good ones. 3 refusals this department treats as legitimate. Privacy. Handing a complete loan file, payment history, income documents, harsh correspondence to anyone is a real decision, and no is a defensible answer to it. Fear of the answer. Sometimes the reconciliation confirms that the borrower is simply behind and the servicer's numbers are substantially right. That's an expensive thing to pay to learn, and people are entitled to not want to learn it on a schedule they did not choose. Suspicion of non-lawyers. A homeowner who has already been sold one worthless document by one confident stranger is correct to be careful about the next one. Most definitely. The right response to that suspicion is not to take offense. It is to work under licensed counsel, publish the method so that can be checked, take no advances from a owner, and default, and let the file argue. 2 of the 6 reasons are bad ones. They are reasonable. The 6th is the one this section exists for. Why the teachers resist. Different economics entirely. A borrower's refusal is psychological. A teacher's refusal is structural, and it follows from the business, not from the person. What the 2 models actually sell. The pay certainty model versus the reconciliation model. A thing they don't want, the product is a thing they don't want you to know. That's the pay certainty model. That's the social medias. The reconciliation model, a number you can check. Scales. Yes, one video serves 10,000 people. The reconciliation model, no. One file at a time. Different answer each time. Fails how? The social media pay certainty model, quietly in someone else's docket, months later. The reconciliation model, immediately and visibly on the page. Price, paid. Price, over here, published free in issues like this one. Requires the teacher to what? Under the pay certainty model, be certain. You just got to be certain. Yes, this is going to get you the house. Yes, take this promissory note is going to discharge the debt. Look, we got another successful homeowner. Text message. You did it. You won. We got a call and they said we don't got to pay anymore. And they're going to walk us through the next steps. And it all came from when we took your webinar on how to discharge your mortgage with a promissory note, which we heard you in your last video. It takes place Wednesday at 7 o'clock in the evening. How the hell was all that in a text message? Hey, yo, they had the whole date. They had the date. Yeah, you did it. They had the date. They had the date when the next webinar was coming. It worked. Oh, shit. Nah, for real. And it's always a text message or email. Boy, you did it again. be like, because I don't like to just rush it. I'm like, why is everything a text message or email when? It's a text message. It's like, and then the wording is so like, it's not like a happy borrower. It's more like it seems like they're writing a report or an advertisement. That's how they're writing it. It's like they're trying too hard to sell the win. When a normal bar, hey, yo, look what I just got. You'll be at like a satisfaction or some letter screenshot to them. You know, it'll be screenshot to them. Look what I just got in the mail, yo. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Yeah. Nah, it's a sentence. Yo, it worked. You did it. The promissory note that you sent us discharged the mortgage. Yo, thank God we took your webinar class that's coming up at 7 o'clock Wednesday. I mean, like, hey, yo. Hey, shout out to shout out to Lawful Living. I'll be like, the last thing a borrower who got their house back is worried about the webinar. They're just happy. I'll be like, golly. Shit. Damn. No satisfaction of liens. No nothing measurable. Just text message, emails. But with the reconciliation model, it requires the teacher to be correct. Say, I can't be off. What is this? A number? Hey, let me go ahead and hey, I don't know. Whatever. Certainty is the asset, and accuracy is a liability against it. An audience pays for confidence. It does not pay for a 30 business day clock in a spreadsheet with 4 decimal places of nothing in it. The moment a teacher adopts a method that produces principal and interest reconcile, the product changes from revelation to bookkeeping. And the audience that was assembled for revelation does not follow. Mentorship is a public status transfer, accepting instruction in front of an audience you assemble by instructing cost you the position that assembled it. It feels like a will. That is the entire explanation and is not irrational. The incentives of a personal brand pointing away from being seen to learn. The incentives of a litigant points directly at it. Anyone doing both at once has a conflict, and in this space, the brand usually wins. A free method is a worse competitor than a rival product. A rival product can be criticized on quality, price, or results. A published, checkable method with no price attached cannot be competed with on any of those accesses. It can only be ignored or attacked, which is why the response so often arrives as an attack on the person rather than on the arithmetic. $170,030.90 does not have a personality to object to. The part about ego said straight. When someone without a law degree files a document a defense firm would sign, the people nearest to it has 2 available responses: adopt the method or explain why it doesn't count. The second is cheaper and it is available immediately. It almost always arrives as a challenge to standing rather than to substance. You're not a lawyer. You're showing off. You think you're better than us because standing is the only ground on which the arithmetic can be avoided. And the same thing is said in the other directions. Skill displayed without generosity does read as an attack. And a publication like this one is one bad paragraph away from proving the critics right. If work is published only to be admired, the resentment it collects is earned. So here's the standard this department holds itself to, and the reader shall hold it to the same one. The test is not whether anyone is impressed. The test is whether a reader who dislikes the author can run the check and get the same answer. That is why every figure in this issue is sourced to the document that produced it. Every arithmetic step is shown rather than asserted. Every authority is cited with what it actually holds. And part 8 works out an innocent explanation for one of our own findings before anyone else can. A method that only works when the reader trusts the author is not a method, it's a following. What to do with all this? Run the innocent explanation first. Before you call something a discrepancy, spend 20 minutes trying to make it ordinary. See the $424 check in part 8. Ask for the boring output. Tell me what ties. Is a better first instruction than find me something. The second one guarantees a finding whether or not one exists. 3, judge a method by whether it produces a checkable number, not by whether it produces a feeling. Certainty is free to manufacture. Arithmetic is not. Do not argue with refusal. If someone would not let their numbers be run, publish the check on the file you have done and let it sit in. Nobody else in this field has ever been talked out of a theory. Several have quietly stopped using one after seeing a reconciliation that closed. The servicer's ledger does not care about who's reading it. That is the whole advantage of arithmetic over argument, and the whole reason it is unpopular. Part 7, the servicer calls back. A notice of error went out. The servicer says it is investigating and wants to talk. Every move available to it, what each one costs, and how each is answered. Regulation X does not have an investigating statute. It has clocks, a required written output, and a short list of grounds for declining. A servicer that says it's investigating has told you it entered the clock. It has not told you it stopped one because it cannot. There is no tolling provision in the rule. The clocks are now running. 12 CFR 1024, 35, and 36 deadlines and business days unless noted. Obligation, a written acknowledgement of notice of error. 5 days. Section 2435, 24.35D. Written acknowledgement of the request for information. 5 days. Section 1024, Part 36C, point 36C. Identity of the owner or assignee of the loan, 10 days. 1024.36, subsections D, 2, 1IA, no extension available. Substantive response to each asserted error, 30 days. 1024.35, subsection E, 3, 1IC. Substantive response to the remaining information request, 30 days. 1024.36, D2, 1IB. Extension, if written notice of it is given before day 30, 15 days. Section 1024.35, E3, 2Is, 1024.36, D2, 2I, not available for payoff balance or foreclosure errors, or for the 10-day category. Error relating to an inaccurate payoff balance, 7 days. Documents relied upon, once requested after a denial, 15 days. Written notice if the servicer declines under the no action grounds, 5 days. No adverse credit furnishing on the payment in dispute, 60 days. Fees for responding, prohibited. The 10-day item is the whole case. Request 7 asks who owns or is assigned the loan, whether it sits in a Ginnie Mae pool, and if it was bought out, when. That is the 10-24-36 D2 1IA category. 10 business days, no extensions, no discretion. It is also the identical question the Florida trial filing puts to the plaintiff's witness. Administratively, put it on the record in the Florida court. Which one you going to answer? You don't answer here, you're going to have problems. You don't answer here, it's going to hang in the air. And the longer it hangs in the air, it looks bad for you. Shout out to Lawful Living. Thank y'all for the gifts. Let's tap the screen. Get those gifts in. Can I get a Galaxy? What they call it on here? Galaxy? Can I get one of those things like... Yeah, somebody stop one of those. Request 7, the 3-way box. If the answer is Ginnie Mae, then it contradicts the in-court representation that Loan Depot is the original creditor and current holder, and it activates every document in the custody manual exhibit, the pool mortgage schedule, the release form, the custodian's identity. If they answer Loan Depot itself, it contradicts the servicer's own filed exhibit, which states investor type GNMA and investor number G13, and it invites the follow-up the trial filing already asks. Repurchased on what date? Under what release document? A refusal to say, if that's how they respond, a written refusal to identify the owner of a loan on a non-extendable statutory clock by the same entity telling the court it is the creditor is the exhibit. Either way they answer, they're fucked. And that's why I sent the notice of error. I already know the answer. I already know the answer. I already know the answer. They didn't repurchase it. They're suing on behalf of Ginnie Mae. I already know the answer. I actually had the pool. I actually had the loan. You'd be amazed with my homeboy that works for them GSEs, what he can do with just your loan number. You'd be amazed what he can find. Sitting in Ginnie Mae. So me knowing that, I said, let me fuck with him. Let me get them to say it. Because I got the transcripts for the March 12th hearing. You said you're the original creditor. I knew that was a lie from the beginning. We didn't object. We didn't say nothing. We were going to wait for the right time. So now it's coming back full circle to be used against them. Hey, who owns this note? Who owns this mortgage right here? Go ahead and put it in writing so I can attach that as an exhibit. I already got the exhibit rating. I'm just waiting for the response. I got 3 different exhibits for 3 different answers. If the answer is Ginnie Mae, I got the exhibit for that. If the answer is Loan Depot itself, I got the answer for that. It's a refusal to say, I got the answer for that. I'm just waiting for them to make my point for me. I'm not doing the work right now. I'm waiting for them to land it. They want to talk. Take the call, understand. What a call, yeah, I did not do. Don't let the error resolution be folded into a settlement. If the whole conversation is framed as a compromise negotiation, everything said in it may be excluded under Florida statutes 90.408 and Federal Rules of Evidence 408, which throws away the one direction the call was used for in. Keep the error resolution call separate and say so if the other side changes lane. Yes, so if you enter into a settlement with these people, it's going to be, so when teachers online talking about, oh, we reached a settlement, we got a settlement in where there's going to be a disclaimer under rules, federal rules, civil procedure rule 408, that this is only for settlement purposes and not admissible in a court of law. That's why, like, when you get an email, I mean, y'all see, I ain't got to show you the email. That's why I said federal rules said not admissible in the court of law. So you can't use like a potential settlement as like an admission. That's all it is. Under Section 102435E1IA, a servicer that finds an error must correct it and provide written notification of the correction in its effective date. That output is worth more than the money. A correction is a written admission that a file number was wrong. If they correct it, they're admitting that, yeah, we filed these numbers wrong. And we asserted these same numbers, had the witness testified to these same numbers at trial. Oh, so you was playing games this whole time? You was playing games, Lil Debo? I knew you was. Just wait for you to admit it. You know what's about to happen now, right? You know about to happen right now. You know you don't. What's the movie? You know you done fucked up, right? Against the servicer, it enters under Florida Statutes 9803, Section 18, with no business records predicate, the same route the trial filing already establishes for the servicer's own documents. There is no correction that fixes the split. 3 documents state $20,068.49, $19,078.90, and $18,350.40 for one balance at one cutoff. Correction of any of them is a written statement that the other 2 were misstated. The arithmetic, don't be a menace, the arithmetic has no exit. A correction produces a 4th number. The court has already seen the figure move once by $4,732.76 in 3 weeks. A corrected figure arriving before trial makes the moving target the theme rather than the detail. Your Honor, here's a 4th number. Your Honor, here's a 4th number. They've now come with a 4th number. We continue going. Yeah, don't miss the last. It's only. Oh, that's another thing they do. They always tell you there's only like 3 seats left, knowing damn well every Tom and Dick and Harry that signs up for the class, they're gonna let you in. Oh, don't miss the class. There's only 3 seats left, motherfucker. You gonna open your doors for anybody that comes in. Listen, it's about to be closed. It's about to be closed. We gonna do it right now. The credit attorney took all them people's $500 that day, talking about for $500 you get a trust with $100,000 in it and approve of income. For $10,000 you get a trust with $100,000. I ain't seen them since. Ain't nobody come back to me. I got the money since. The credit attorney on TikTok. Ain't seen nobody since. I said, bro, you running the old 1990 scam. That scam old. Let me guess, a young guy. He a young guy. Thought it was something new. I said, bro, that scam, like, that's an old one. The trust with the statement of income and the proof of funds, and you can go, it's already funded, but you got to pay me $500 up front. You got to pay me $10,000 up front. You might as well have the Cash App scam. Yo, give me $50 now. You get $350 in 20 minutes. And people were just, the desperate, they were just paying for it. This happened in May. Ain't nobody come back. Got the money. And what he do to me? You already know what he did to me. Block. I sent him a message. Show me the success. Show me the success. I want to buy it. $500. I get $100,000. Show me that you've already done it. I seen you $500 right now. Yeah, I seen you $500 right now. I'm a potential client. He ain't want my $500. A lot of these gurus don't ever want. Sometimes I'll be trying to put money. Hey, yo, let me get that packet. But I need you to explain. How can I? Yeah, when it comes down to explaining it, pew. The money is the smallest part of it. A credit of $989.59 or $1,718.09 resolves nothing about whether the remaining balance was ever substantiated by invoice, payee, and service description, which is what request 2 asks for. If the servicer denies, a conclusory denial itself is a violation. Renfro vs. Nation Star Mortgage LLC. A servicer answers a notice of error by writing the loan and relevant documents were reviewed and found to comply with all the state and federal regulations. The 11th Circuit reversed dismissals, holding that a servicer must supply the reasons for its determination and cannot shelter behind a generic response letter. That is controlling law, and the circuit these borrowers sit in. A denial triggers free document production on a 15-day clock. Request the 1030, 1024, 35 documents the same day. No discovery motion, no hearing, no judge, no fee. Forbids charging for it. Compare that the cost and calendar of a motion to compare. You see how I'm using the statutory, the consumer laws and this to line their ass up. I'm going for the shot. I'm going for the shot right here. I got to aim right here. Why are they, hey bro, why are they, hey bro, why are they, I don't know why they, there you go. I don't know why they blocking your comments, Chase. I probably had it, the settings and stuff, but if I see your comments being blocked, I'll unblock you. Ain't saying nothing crazy. The reasons to become the cross-examination. Whatever explanation is written for how 3 different totals are all correct is the script the trial witness has to live inside. If the written reasons and the witness diverge, the impeachment is complete before the ledger is admitted. Renfro also answered the damages objection. The court held that where plaintiff plausibly alleges a servicer violated its statutory obligation and as a result did not receive a refund of erroneous charges, she has been cognizably harmed. Now, so we're going to stop there. This publishing will be available via the New Culture Empire Patreon. It's been real. I like this today. Hold on. It's supposed to be like that. My bad, y'all. It's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to see the backgrounds and shit. It was a good one today. Listen, man. What'd he say? Old banana in the tailpipe jump. That's all they got. And they don't understand, like, these scams are old. Y'all understand how old these scams are. These scams are old. Like, they are so old. They are old. Like 10, 15 years outdated. Like, y'all got to understand something. Come up with something groundbreaking. But it's been real. You need your numbers ran, audit ran, send me an email, thomaslegacy603@gmail. One thing about the audit, the record is what's being audited. The numbers they've already provided you. The numbers that's on the contract. Now, I have a certain ledger for people who are currently current on their contract. I have a different way of calculating and analyzing it because if you are current on your obligations, then we go crush the numbers from the inception. So it proves that they got you paying way more over the life of the loan than what the contract and the statute allows. So we have a separate method for current borrowers. And we got a way that we do for defaulted borrowers or borrowers that's being sued. So we got both ways. We got both ways of running it. But regardless of anything, y'all continue to do your due diligence. Don't just listen to anything that sounds good. I would be remiss if I came here and told you everything's pie in the sky, court is this, 100%. Y'all need to start hearing the reality. So I'd rather you prepare for reality than prepare for a hope and dream. Y'all need this space. We got to stop this pie in the sky. I got to tell what they want to hear because I don't want to lose money. I'm not saying don't make your money. Cool. But God damn it. Y'all got to understand a lot of people's mindset. Their houses are on the line. Their most prized possessions are on the line. You kind of, in some, not all, because a lot of borrowers I deal with, they know how to think. They understand what's going on. But some of them, you kind of got to hold them back from themselves. You got to think for them in a way. Because they're already, I need to do something. I need to get out of it. And then borrowers who have no experience in court, teachers, you got to prepare them from getting court ready. So it's a lot that goes behind it. And even for all the fellow teachers, teach people the right way, man. What's the right way? The right way is not the new culture empire's way. The right way is what the courts have already set, what's already set, what's already settled, what's already been allowed, what's already been argued, how they've already interpreted these. That's the right way. There is no my way, my method. I didn't create the system. If I create the system, y'all won't even know who I am right now. I'll be sitting somewhere behind the scenes. I don't create the system. I just create the methods that I employ by using authoritative guidance that's already been out there. And then I create my own niche. But this is not my system. It's not my method, my process. No, my process is the process that works. Whatever that is, that's my process. All right, y'all. It's been real, 100% real deal. Holyfield, TikTok. Shout out to all my gifters. YouTube, shout out to everybody that tapped in. Shout out to YouTube. Shout out to Facebook for everybody that tapped in.
You're rocking with the best.
All right, y'all. It's been real. YouTube, TikTok. I'm going to get up.
They studying the source now. Supreme Elite. New Empire talk. Came on reading numbers, they were reading memes. He was reading filings, planning out the dream. Turn every late fee in the case law heat. Judge bang gavel, he don't skip a beat. They like how you flip stress into assets. How you turn the loss in the last check. Thomas took notes, broke codes, then he proved it. Now the classroom global and the language fluid. Thomas is the blueprint. Write that in the sky, let the crew print. From the courtroom smoke to the new man. He designed the way we move our 2 cents. Thomas is a blueprint. Supreme Elite team, that's the school stamp. From the first lay bill to the full camp. New culture empire, watch the flag plan. Supreme Elite team, university. Turn the credit score into currency. Turn the closed door to a first key. Turn the side job to a legacy. He beat odds, then he beat litigation. Now we teach law like a new translation. From confusion into consultation. From survival into foundation. They log in, lights on in their eyes now. Section this, call that. They reply now. He like, know your rights, then apply now. God, that's the real drip. Let it dry now. Thomas is the blueprint. Write that in the sky, let the crew print. From the courtroom smoke to the new man. He designed the way we move our 2 cents. Thomas is the blueprint. Supreme Elite team, that's the school stamp. Wave it from the first lay bill to the full camp. New culture empire, watch the flag plan. From the bench to the block, he reversed that. Put the power in the pen, yeah, he burst that. Every mind that he frees, that's a verse that. Whole culture on the rise, you can search that. Hey. Thomas is the blueprint. Write that in the sky, let the blueprint. From the courtroom smoke to the new man. He designed the way we move our 2 cents. Thomas is the blueprint. Supreme Elite team, that's the school stamp. From the first lay bill to the full camp. New culture empire, watch the flag plan. They studying the source now. Supreme Elite. New Empire talk. Came on reading numbers.
You're rocking with the best.
Another firm has started their investigation, but then you have my lawsuit. Now, why does my lawsuit so damaging to credit acceptance? It puts them between a rock and a hard spot, because any other legal case or legal action that they filed, they always appear and defend it. They've been getting sued forever. This ain't nothing new to them. They know how it goes. They don't ever not show up and make an appearance or defend. They don't ever not do it. They don't ever not do it. Even with the government, they made an appearance. Even with the government. So it's not just about, I will just tap out. No. The problem with credit acceptance is, if it was just my case individually, I believe they would have responded. But the way I argue my complaint, they can't even respond to my complaint without opening themselves up on the other, especially the class action. Because I wedged it together so much that you can't even separate consumer claims to their internal operation. I bridged them two together so they can't deny their operations with me, because the Rosa Law Firm is watching my case. It's going to be an automatic loss from there. They can't admit what I'm saying is true to their internal operations, because it's going to open them up to exposures over there. They can't say no here because it's an automatic yes over there. They can't say what I'm saying is not true, because they're really going to get hit for lying, falsifying regulatory documents on that end. So they are stuck.